and that something is a business, it's so important to get started on the right foot because I can tell you it's real simple to wind up sometime later with a duct tape business. And believe me, you do not want to have that. Hi, I'm Christine Rothdeutsch, and I am the host of Make It Click. And today I have as my guest Maya Manseau. Is that correct? Mansoux? I'm sorry. We just went over
It's
this.
okay. Close enough.
And her business is the Small Business Path. Welcome to the show, Maya.
Thank you so much.
All right. So, yeah, we're talking you help people from the beginning to get things set up correctly, but even before that, to help them find what that might be. Tell me a little bit about how you go about finding somebody's passion.
It's so interesting. I get on the phone with people and they're like, I sort of have this idea and it's sort of vague and this is what I'm thinking and I really need some help to figure out how to make that into something. And so it's a conversation and I gently ask them questions about, well, what excites you? What brings you joy? Is there a problem that you know how to solve? Is there a problem that you've been solving for other people your whole life and like you just know how to do it? And that it's so funny how when I ask that question, they're like, well, yeah, I do this thing and I've done it repeatedly, but like that's not my big purpose. And I'm like, well, let's stay there a minute because if you have this life filled with wisdom about solving a particular problem, that's generally a really good clue as to what your purpose is. And because they've solved it their whole lives, they think it's really easy and they think it would be easy for others to solve that problem as well. And quite often, their unique set of experiences that only they have had give them a really particular viewpoint on how to solve a problem and kind of all of the things that go around solving that problem.
That's very interesting that you say that. I suffered in the early days of thinking, well, yeah, yeah, I can do that, but like, who need, like, who needs it? Can everybody do that? Or the fact of, well, other people do the same thing, and realizing that we all bring something different to the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and but then too, we can come up with an idea, but then, ooh, is somebody gonna wanna pay us for it?
Absolutely. And, I talk a lot about that problem that you solve in your business. The more it's a basic human need, the easier it will be to help others and get money. If you pick a problem that people aren't willing to pay you for, that's what I would call a hobby. Because a business, while it is about providing a service, it is also about providing income for yourself. And oftentimes people will come at it with a really small, specific problem that they want to solve. And I like to talk to them about if you could create a foundation for somebody around this problem that solves not just the symptom that's causing the issue for them, but like all of the pieces so they have a solid foundation to move forward with, what would that look like? And very often they're like, well, it would be this and it would be that. And I could help this other person indirectly. And so when you start to think about it from that perspective, and when you think about it from the perspective of how much value am I adding to someone's life? Because if I want to do this thing and I want to get paid for it, if I'm not adding value to their life, nobody's going to want to pay me to do that. But if I can approach it from here's this way that I can solve their problem and add this tremendous value to their life, you're not going to have trouble selling it.
Mm. So, Maya, I want to hear your take, and I want the audience to listen. If someone feels that as you're talking about getting paid, what is your response, to the thought of, "Well, I really I'm not into it for the money, I just wanna help people." What do you have to what wisdom do you have to share around that thought?
Well, in my very first business, I struggled with that myself. I wanted to be a wedding photographer, and I just wanted people to have pretty pictures. And I wanted them to have a great experience on their wedding day around the photography. And so many photographers that I talk to, they equate what they charge with their own worth. And when you're in a business, it is not about what am I worth. It's about what is it worth to provide that service to someone else. And again, it comes back to that value versus what you're charging.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's and if we find that when you offer things for free and the big one is when somebody does a free workshop, some kind of free event, people will register, but what's the show up rate? Not
Right.
very good because people didn't have to pay for it, so they don't value it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that when you do too much for low cost or no cost and everything, you're sending the universe, bad signals. So that is that's my part of my philosophy. So let's we talked about, trying to, come up with something we've done, repeatedly, or maybe we create something. We have some we can turn something into a product. And but then I have you worked with anybody like that that had like a product that they physically made? And what's the difference, in setting up your business when you have to put that time in to create something?
I think that no matter whether you're selling a service or an actual product, I think giving birth to a business is a very creative process. And again, to it comes back to who are the people you're trying to help. Um, you really have to create alignment between the problem that you're solving by either your service or your product, the people that you help, your passion for doing it. So, for example, I have no problem investing time and energy into talking with someone to see if it's a fit for us to work going forward because I want to work with people who are really excited about what it is that I offer. And then you also have to figure in the plan of action of how you're delivering that product or that service. And even if you have a product, like you've invested so much time and effort and thought into creating that product and the problem that it solves, you're going to know more than just what that product is. So you can help people by not only telling them that product exists, but you can also help them by telling them why using your product is going to be helpful.
Mm. Yeah, we get it, and that's the thing. We understand why you need this, but geez, we have to convey that to the public so that they see it, in the same light. And again, that's one of those areas that I think all too often we take for granted, that people get it. Um,
Well, one of the things that I work when I'm working with somebody about building a business, one of the first things I do is I ask them to set their intentions for how their customers want to feel when they interact with the business. And it changes the decision making process. Instead of being like, I want to make X number of sales, so I'm going to do these three steps. If you're focused on how do you want that client experience to be? Who is it you want to help? And how do you want them to feel about this? Then you start making decisions based on giving a better customer experience. And I talk to people all the time that have invested years into learning skills or creating the product or whatever, and they want to talk about it in the terms that excite them. There's a whole bunch of acronyms, there's a whole bunch of words. And I'm often saying to them, okay, I understand the words you just said. I have no idea if you can help me. So what are the words that your customers will use that will help them see that what you're offering is what they need for help? It's this, you're going to tell them the same things, but you're going to use their words, not yours.
Mm, yes. You talking about the planning, the plan of action. I still see, and it breaks my heart to see so many business owners that are just in reactive mode. Instead of being proactive and planning ahead. And when it comes to using technology in your business, that's the beauty of so many pieces of technology. You can set things up ahead of time and have the email marketing is a huge one for everybody's business, that you can work out your plan months ahead of time and put it into place, and it can automatically go. But again,
Yeah.
like I said, I find too many people that are just reacting, putting out the fires. What are some of your recommendations when it comes to the planning? And again, people I find, and I should okay, maybe I'm like making it like everybody. Okay, not everybody, but I find a large portion um that think that taking the time to plan is taking time away from making money. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. So your social media, your brand, your social media, the business name, the tagline, the mission statements, you need to think of that as the love letter to your client before you even meet them. Because if they feel loved before they even meet you, they will engage. One of the questions I get a lot is, what is the right number of days of the week to put out social media? 7 days a week seems like a lot. Once a week doesn't seem like enough. And my daughter, who studied small business and entrepreneurship many years ago now, she was an early adopter of social media. And she came up with this brilliant plan. And I take no credit for it other than that I'm sharing it for her now. And that is, there's 3 times a week. If you just focus on 3 times a week to get your message out, here's the cheat sheet for how to do it. These are not sales. This is about creating a conversation. Monday mornings between 9 and 10, everybody goes to work, but they're not really into it yet. So send out a social media and make it hopeful. Give them inspiration that there's more to life than what they're doing right now. That will get them energized. And then every Monday morning, when they're sitting at their desk, not wanting to do what they're there to do, they'll log on and they'll start to follow you. Now, the second time is Wednesday afternoons between 3 and 4, where everybody's like, oh, it's been a long week. I need something else. Like, I need something. And Lindsay's advice was to put out a social media message that gives them something to think about. It could be a fact, it could be something that you teach, but it's a little nugget of something to just get their brain back engaged. And then the third time is on Friday afternoons between 1 and 2 when everybody's thinking about their weekend, and then you give them something to do. And it's just enough to make them wanna come back for more.
Well, now, okay, so that's the golden nugget of our interview. I hope our audience is taking notes on this, because that is golden. I've never heard of something so simplistic when it comes to social media. But I am. definitely writing those ideas down. Thank your daughter for me. I appreciate that. Um, and so so like I said, when it comes to the planning, it pays to take the time to do it instead of just throwing stuff out there and hoping that something sticks.
Yep.
My big, my soapbox message is about the networking that people do, thinking that running from event to event to event and just showing up, I was there, people see me, I talk to people is gonna get them business. Like, yeah, no. I even there, I believe in having a plan, and that's an area that I talk a lot about. Maya, this has been golden information for our audience. What is it that you would like to share with them so that they can get to know more about you?
Well, I would like to offer them a free book. In January, I published a book called Navigating the Small Business Path: 10 Steps to Doing What You Love, Earning Your Dream Life. And it's the basis for what I teach, what I talk about. It describes the problem, the passion, and the plan of action in detail. And they can get that at www.thesmallbusinesspath.com/free-book. And absolutely, you know, a lot of people ask me why I give away my book. And the answer is I aim for about a third of the work that I do to be given away for free. I believe that's my gift to the world. A third of what I do is done at the most accessible price point I can afford to do it at. And then I have private coaching clients that I work with. Um, but please go ahead and read the book. And if you get through it and you're interested, love to talk to people one on one.
Well, that is so generous of you, Maya. I'm sure our audience appreciates it greatly. Before we finish here, I just wanted to ask you one more thing, and this is about you, Maya, and your business. And over the years, as you've been navigating the small business world, is there anything that you think back on and say, "Wow"? That one thing that I learned or, encountered or maybe it was a piece of technology that you use in your business that has helped you to move forward and really make it click in your business. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, I'm going to answer the question a little differently than the way you asked it. So, I jumped into the entrepreneurial world about 20 years ago. I had been in the corporate world before that, and I did it because there had to be more to life. I wanted to be able to spend time with my daughters, who were like 12 and 14 at the time. And I started a wedding photography business and learned a ton about entrepreneurship and all of that. Both of my daughters joined me in that business, which was unexpected and amazing. But the biggest benefit out of all of that was the fact that 9 years after I started my business, my older daughter passed away to leukemia. And it really brought home for me that being able to earn enough money to build your life the way you want it is so important because you never know what's coming. And so I really think that, you know, honoring yourself and the process and your entire life, not just your business, is the most important thing that I've learned.
Oh, Maya, thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that, and I know our audience does also. Maya Manseau, thank you so much for being my guest today on Make It Click.